with you. I have a thought that, and I say this very respectfully. So you said you were in an abusive relationship. I have a thought that many of the signs are present prior to even the relationship, right? Like there are flags. I call them white flags or red flags. They're red flags. There are red flags that are there that maybe we ignored, or we just saw it but overlooked it, or we desired maybe love so much that we were willing to do X even when it didn't give us Y. Tell me what your thoughts with that. Do you agree, disagree, and even maybe in some of your own situation?
In this particular situation, I knew this person. We went to high school together. We were friends long before we ever dated, and things escalated. So there was nothing that I saw within this person that would have ever made me think that. They came from a good household, 2-parent home, white picket fence, like just the picture perfect, person. Everything.
Okay, so let me. So I love that you said that, because that happens, right? It's like I thought it was perfect. Now, as things started to unravel, there were things that's like you said, there was it starts as a mental abuse, right? And isolation. So maybe when those signs started, that's what, so sometimes, I think we're conceding that sometimes the signs are there before, sometimes they're not. Okay, so in situations that they're not, some signs then maybe do you agree that some signs maybe start coming about for whatever reason?
And they do, but the thing is, you don't see them as signs because Exactly. You're in it. You are so in it. But I will say that control, any form of control, controlling the purse strings, trying to control your whereabouts. If someone that loves you is starting to put you down and you are starting to feel broken around that individual, you're not allowed to be you. You're not allowed to go out and have friends, have fun. You can't talk to your family. They're being weird towards your family. You feel like you gotta, you can only see your family when they're not there. Anything, if your life starts to feel disjointed, that's a sign.
So I want to push you even a little farther on that, because I think it's helpful. I heard a lot of the words you use like the word controlling, you use the word, isolation, but I would venture to say it doesn't look like or feel like that from the beginning. So that's why I'm pushing you to say, because it doesn't feel like control at the beginning. It just feels like it has I think sometimes it may have a softer approach to it. Like it doesn't feel like control, but then you look up and it's control. So that's what I'm trying to get you to pull out of you. What is that? What are some of those?
It's very subtle, and it can look like care and concern. And so you think, oh, they just love me. They want to keep me safe. They want to protect me. But in reality, they're starting to strip away your identity little by little. So it can look like getting an attitude when you're like, oh, my mom's coming over, or, I'm gonna go out with my girlfriends, or something as simple as, you cook dinner and they're like, oh, I'm not hungry, I already ate, when you know what the routine is. Like, just pay attention to little signs that are out of the norm. But it's like, oh, okay, then you start to make excuses. Maybe they had a bad day, so this is why.
That's good.
Find yourself making excuses for their behavior. Pay attention, because that, again, those are signs, like their personality is starting to shift. The dynamic within the relationship is shifting. Now, at that time when I was in it, I didn't know, what I'm saying? I didn't know, but looking back, I can see okay, there was a flag, that was a flag.
So then how can a person that's maybe in it, like you said, you can't see when you're in it. Is there a way to maybe periodically do a self-check? Right? Because as you were saying that, I'm thinking okay, at the end of the month or end of the week, just ask myself a series of questions or a series of things to kind of make sure that I'm still in. Because, for example, as I go through things in my life, my son goes through, I do a mental health check. How you doing, son? I can look in his eyes and tell if something is going on, right? What's going on? What, talk to me about this. I'm checking on these things that I know are important to him. And I want to vet how he may be feeling. So is there maybe a thing that, a check-in that you can do for within yourself to help you to say something might not be okay?
Absolutely. I think another thing too is to pay attention to if, if you have goals and things, or is your life revolving around that person?
Oh,
Like
that's
if you
good.
have to go to them for everything, to get groceries, to get around, if you find yourself having to ask for permission to like do normal things, if you start to feel apprehensive, like, oh, if I do this, will it upset them? But check in with yourself and how do I feel? Do I feel loved? Do I feel safe? Do I feel supported? When was the last time I did something that I loved? When was the last time this person did something with me that I loved?
Giovanna, I could see how if I was broken inside from the beginning, how I could never see this, right? If I don't have the self-love long before I even got into the relationship, how I can be in something like this and stay in it for whatever reason, because people stay for different reasons. I pass no judgment on why people do, why we are in things, because it becomes a mind thing and becomes a, like you said, a self-love thing. But I can see how we can begin to make excuses and allow things to continue to go on long past they should have, long past the time that they should have, because of my own self-worth. Is that what you find being a systemic challenge for people that you work with?
Absolutely. Many of the people, and I've had men come work with me as well, but I do mainly work with women. Self-love is always, always at the root. And that's why a lot of when I talk about relationships, if you're not right with you, you're not going to uphold your boundaries with someone else. You won't have the self-awareness to say, this person is not treating me how I desire to be treated. And so we have to come from a place of wholeness and healing within ourselves so that we can recognize when other people are not whole and heal within themselves, so that they're not able to mistreat us or take advantage of us.
What does self-love look like? Because I feel like, we talk about it and I know what it means, but what does self-love have to begin? What are some key components of self-love that you have to say, this has to feel good, this has to be good for you?
A lot of times when we hear self-love, we see like, manicure, pedicure, getting a massage, things like that. And those are beautiful aspects and ways to care for yourself. But when I talk about self-love, I talk about meeting the parts of you that you don't want other people to see. It's loving the roles. It's loving the things that you experienced. It's learning to know who you are in the same way that you would want to go and like, okay, I want to go get to know this person because I like them. You need to date yourself. You need to romance yourself. You need to be intimate with yourself. Ask yourself, like, some people don't even know what they like. You ask somebody, what do they want to do? They're like, I don't know. Like, what's your dream? I don't know. Well, why don't you know? Because you never had the opportunity to really explore and examine yourself. And so when you take the time, like Beyonce said, me, myself, and I, that's all I got in the end. I'm my own best friend. You really need to be that way. Understand what makes you tick. Know the things that light you up, the things that make you sad, the things that bring you joy.
I think that we get into the society where it's all about do, go, go, go. And I think, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, at the time of this recording, we are coming out of, in a lot of respects, COVID. And I think that COVID was such a challenge mentally for people, because when you couldn't go nowhere, the only thing you had was you and your children, whether they was good or bad, in the house, but you in the house too long, you in the house too long with your spouse, because we've gone so much that we don't take the time to be still, right? And then because we were forced to be still, and we are social beings, mental health went start to skyrocket. And I think a lot of it has to do with having to sit down and hear your own thoughts for a change, and be within yourself for a change, and deal with your own self for a change. What are your thoughts with that?
I absolutely agree. COVID forced people to face themselves, to face their partners, to take a hard look at your life, whether you wanted to or not. And a lot of people did not like what they saw. A lot of people found it very, very hard to like be with themselves. And that again is why that inner work is necessary.
Yeah, and it really, what I just love about this is it, like you said, it comes down to self-love at the end of the day. And that's not to negate situations that people, women, men get into that are abusive for whatever the reason, however you got there, however it happened, you're there. And it's going to take, it takes an insurmountable amount of faith and determination and courage to get out, right? That's why I asked you at the beginning, how did you realize it and how did you get out? Because it takes all of life, even to contemplate death, to get out, right? Because that's even what you talked about in your journey. So it is so important with this self-love. So if you are, as we round out the end of this, because I could talk to you forever about this, what are some of the things, whether a person is in this type of situation or just getting out of this type of situation, or maybe looking at this may be that kind of situation, what are some of the things that they can start to do to regain themselves, right? Because at the end of the day, to get out, you gotta go within. To not go in, you got to go within, and to, when you're on the outside, to keep living, you got to go within. So what are some things that may have to happen on the inside for you to have the strength and courage to keep going?
That there has to be the will to go on. You know, there has to be something, some part of you, some little nugget of hope that there's better, that there's more, that this isn't it for me. And we, as messed up as a situation is, we are creatures of comfort. We are creatures of familiarity. So we can stay in a bad situation because we get used to it. Just like when you take a number 2, right? It smells. And then after a while, you've been sitting in there for a minute, so you don't smell it anymore. But you go out and you walk back in, you're like, oh God, oh my goodness. So just like that, when you are sitting in it, you can't see it. You have to sometimes step away. Sometimes you have to step away from a situation. And one of the things I would say is, if you don't know what's going on, if you are in a state of confusion with your life, get away. You don't have to go to another town or another state. Go find a little place, an Airbnb somewhere to yourself, and just go and see how you feel. Do you feel more at peace? Can you breathe better? Are you like, ooh, like, what is this feeling? Like, this is different. And then notice how you feel when you go back into that situation. Are you tense? Are you on, like, how do you feel? A lot of times we're in these situations that we don't know how tense and stressed we are because we've become accustomed to being in them. So first you need to, I would say, distance yourself and tune in to see how you feel, to see what inside you is stirring.
I love that. One of the things that you actually, the word you didn't say that I wrote down, because I wrote the will to go on, distance yourself, but you talked about an awareness. That was really when you left and you went, you're saying that at some point you have to have the will, that has to come from somewhere. But a tipping point can be the awareness of what's going on. You know, when you, like you said, you go to Airbnb, when you get with your girls or your family, do you feel like you can kind of let your hair down and be like, oh, you know, just you? And I think that that's so incredible to be able to talk about. I just love you, your story, the things that you're doing, how you're fighting for those, to say no one needs to be in this situation. And being able to support people to get out of it. How can people, as we round this out, how can people get in contact with you if they want to work with you?
My website is spirituallovesanctuary.com. I'm also on Instagram as Spiritual Love Sanctuary. I truly just love being of support to people, helping people heal and find their way back. Because one of the things that a toxic relationship does, whether it's abusive or not, is it can leave you wounded for a long time. And you walk around feeling shame and embarrassment and hiding in life. And you think you're living, but you're truly not really living fully. And I want to see everyone thrive. And that's why I call, say I help women live abundantly ever after, because I want you to live not happily. I want you to live abundantly with an abundance of love, of peace, of success, of adventure, of bliss after whatever you experienced in your past. So.
Well, I was going to give you the last word, but that clearly was the last word. This is Giovanna Tisdale. I am Dr. T. You guys, this has blessed my soul, and I hope this masterclass has been something to bless you. Make sure that you contact her if you need her support, if you just want to chat with her, to just really kind of begin to understand what that self-love is about, especially if you're in a relationship that's not serving you well. You guys take care. God bless, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.